Hi, everyone. We're back today in our fabulous podcast, TTT, Total Travel Time. We're just going to be talking today about a subject that we feel like there's a lot of interest in. We just decided to do this in a modality where we have Miss Laura. She's participating with us today as our fantastic and phenomenal co host.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, hi. So we're going to be talking today because Laura is a professional interpreter. She has been in the industry for a couple of years, but she has been working mostly as an employee. She does have some contracts and she is a self-employed at times, but she has some questions that we think that would be interesting if we just shared with all of you so that we could discuss and maybe if we can get any type of feedback from you or any other questions, then we may just answer them in a later episode. So, Laura, take it away.
Yeah. So, guys, for today, I just brought some of the questions that I myself asked once I felt confident or I just felt like I could, find the time and I felt good enough to just go out and try this as a contractor. And first question would be, let's start from the basics. So, what's a contractor? And
That's
can you explain it to me like I'm five?
that's a very good question. But a contractor is someone that is not literally employed by anyone. It's just someone that has no employee obligations in the eyes of the Department of Labor. That person is separate from what we consider an employee. That person is in charge of their time. That person is. They can pick and choose their assignments, and there are other things that they have as a benefit. On the other hand, is also someone that is supposed to report their own taxes and basically just handle themselves like as in a small company, basically.
Good. Okay, so that brings me to the next question, and it's how do you handle being a contractor, just like you said? Because there's benefits you don't necessarily have, and also there's like another system that you have to get used to, and that's taxes. Because when you are an employee, taxes I would say are taken care of. You don't have to worry about taking them out on every single payment you receive because your employer takes care of that. But what happens when someone just works on their own?
Well, that's a very deep question and it's very individual. Every person's situation is different, and let me explain why. So, there's different tax brackets and different ways that you are able to report your income tax or any type of taxes that you have. There's different obligations, and it depends on the person's personal situation. So it's important just to contact someone that is a tax expert or sometimes a tax attorney to determine your best case scenario. But yeah, if you're supposed to pay for your taxes, some people recommend you separating an amount from every paycheck that you get so that you are able to, comply with the obligations because they're taxed different than when you are an employee. For example, you are not going to be paying unemployment benefits, as I understand, but you are going to be taxed on a different basis. Also, your expenses might come into play as well, so you may get some type of credits. So it all depends on your situation. I don't know if that answers your question. I'm sorry.
It does actually. Okay, so I understand that part. And now that I've asked them like the most important question, which is, like when you receive your payment and stuff, we can move on to different, well, less important questions now. That was meant to be a joke.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I'm just thinking about what I'm gonna say next.
Okay. So as an interpreter, what do I need to start working as a contractor? So can I just like do like take a training, or like I know like I'm bilingual, so can I just like try and get work through whoever is willing to offer it to me. Can I accept those jobs? What qualifications do I need to start working?
That depends on the actual person hiring you, because here's the thing, the industry, language industry, is not that regulated or as regulated as we would like it to be. Some people, just because they're bilingual, they get hired, and they don't necessarily need to go through training process, because it depends on the urgency of the person hiring them. So some of us start our career that way. That was not my case, but I know of people that have started just out of necessity. Somebody needed them. They said, I'll hire you, I'll pay you because I need to have this conversation with my client. And then they end up being interpreters. Voila. No training, no nothing. They just basically handle situations. But in reality, there's different avenues if you want to become a professional and trained interpreter. So there are courses that you can take. There's courses online. There's courses in person. There are actually majors in colleges and universities that you can do. Obviously, the preparation is not the same, because if you have a major or if you have a degree in college, it's not the same as a 40 or 60-hour course. Not necessarily saying that one is better than the other in the sense of quality, while performing, because that's a highly debated topic. But again, just the fact that you did go to college for it obviously gives you a lot more opportunity to explore different weaknesses that you may have and prepare, and then just practice way better than just doing it for 40 to 60 hours. But there's many different ways where you can become one. So just recapping, one, it could be no training at all and you could just call yourself a professional. Two, you could get a training online or in person, 40 to 60-hour course. Or you could also do, go to college for it. There's different programs that you can attend college and get a degree in that type of profession. Could be translation, interpretation. So it's up to you.
Okay, so it seems like we have different options, and well, it all depends on, well, the interpreter, basically.
Yeah, I do not recommend though the first one. I would steer away from it 100%. As a client and as a professional, I do not recommend just out of the blue starting to interpret, because even if you do have the skills for it, you need to know protocols and standards of the industry and how to do it the right way, just for everybody's safety. There's safety involved. There's a lot of information that is delicate, and it's best when you are trained and you know what is what, because if you're not trained, you may not know what information is delicate or what information is important or sensitive. But once you are trained, then you're like, oh. So it's better always in anything that you do to get training and have a reputable training or a certificate that shows that you did train.
Nice, nice, nice. Okay.
But you do have all of that, and
Yeah, I
actually,
do.
and you have got certified and everything,
And
which is really cool. And I wanted to mention, just taking the opportunity, that a certificate and a certification is not the same thing.
yes.
So you have a certificate because you were trained as an interpreter, and you also have a certification because you were certified through one of the entities that certify.
I know.
in
So
the US.
the certificate was the thing that I received on the mail, the piece of paper I received on the mail, but certification is a status that I acquired after going through a process where I had to take a lot of tests. I had to study a lot, and yeah, they're not the same.
They are not. Just
They are
because
not.
you have a certificate doesn't mean that you're certified.
Yes. And well, just because you had some kind of training or course doesn't mean you are certified either.
Correct. Exactly.
Because sometimes people might do some kind of training in, like, I don't know, healthcare, or maybe something about handling like a medical scenario or something like that. And well, that's not a certification.
Yeah, sometimes even in staff interpreters at hospitals, they get trained. There's internal trainings that they're provided, and they tell them, "Oh, you're certified." Well, you may have a certificate in how working with that particular client and working at that setting in that
Mm-hmm.
hospital. That may be okay. You do have a certificate to work with the hospital or their internal training, but that does not mean that training is actually encompassing everything that you may need to be a professional interpreter in another setting. So it's important just to mention that. And it's not saying that it's not a good thing.
It
Obviously,
is a good thing,
I mean,
actually.
it's not a bad thing, but it's like the fact that you may get it or may not. It could vary, but what I'm saying is at least you get something. But just because you did receive some type of training, that doesn't mean that you are certified. That's a very big distinction.
Wow. I feel distinguished now. Good. Um, okay, so how do I start working as a contractor? Like, who do I contact? Which doors do I have to knock so that I can start working?
That's the same question that anybody coming into the industry has. I had it at one point because when you're not being hired by someone and you are a contractor, then the game is different. The game plan has to be networking. It has to be contacting different agencies, applying for different jobs. I would say even join Facebook groups and other places that you could basically just go in and just contact colleagues that may have any type of reference for other agencies. And we did mention networking at a previous episode where we're just mentioning the importance of it and how the role that it plays in the getting jobs. But I think that it's very important just to associate yourself with the industry somehow, attending conferences, participating at events that are local, maybe joining your local organizations. There's a lot of information out there. All you have to do is search it and then just get involved. It's gonna be slow at the beginning. I'm not gonna lie. It's always like that. But it gets to a point though where it's a lot, and you have to decide, and then that's when you pick and choose, and that's pretty fun because that's when you get to play with your rates a little bit and probably just raise them so that the pays, the jobs that pay
That's a
higher.
good thing.
Yeah, no, that's a really good thing. It gets to the point where you're just saturated and you have too much work. So that way you can pick what assignments you want to take, and obviously you're gonna pick the highest paying one. So you are in a position where you can negotiate rates and get paid better.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a goal for me. So like to talk how you're talking right now, like, oh yeah, you can pick and choose whatever what assignments you like to do and whatnot. Just a piece of advice that I wish I had listened to, and it's if you'd like to get involved and you end up getting involved, get yourself some business cards.
Yes.
Yes,
Absolutely.
that's really
Oh
important.
my gosh, that's actually a really, really good tip. It's important to get your business cards because you can share them with different contacts. I wouldn't say just the fact that you have a business card makes a difference because it's not only you're sharing them to get work, it's more like you get into the habit of sharing it. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you don't even think that you are getting business from someone and you just give them your business card, they might reach out to you later on. Now, there's also a thing with our code of ethics and our protocols. It's not like if someone sends you on an assignment, you can just share your card with them because obviously you are working for somebody else. So in that situation, it would seem like you're giving them your business card so that they would call you instead. That is not necessarily ethical.
That's
So
not how we. That's not how you do it.
no, it's not. No, that's a big boo
Mm-mm.
boo. So what you do is that you can, when you're asked for your personal information, because they say, "Oh no, I want you back because you did such an amazing job and they felt great with your services," then you refer them back to the agency or the person that sent you. Because if that's not your personal client, then that's called poaching. But either way, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get clients of your own in another event. But the fact that you have your business card already helps you with that. And not only that, I wouldn't say just get a business card. I think that we're going to talk about this a little bit more in a different episode. But I wanted to really, really encourage everyone to go over the resume. I get resumes every day from different professionals, mostly translators, just looking for work. And I kid you not, there's so many different resumes that I get that don't even have the language on it. So I know that you're a translator, but what language are you working for? Or what combinations? Because if you don't tell me, then
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when to hire you. Sometimes on LinkedIn or professional websites or places on their professional profile, they don't have what languages they work in. So they say, okay, I'm an interpreter. Good to know, but what language? So, and then you wonder, why does nobody reach out to me? Well, they might not know what languages you speak. So it's important to just make sure that the information is accurate and that is correctly spelled. Because it's very, very ironic that if you're, looking for a job as a translator, then you have typos in your resume. It happens more often than I would enjoy, to be honest. So that's one thing there. So to recap, like we said, get your business card, put your resume out there, but correctly. In any
Yes.
type of professional profile, then just add your languages. That's very important.
Yep. Nice. Really good. Okay. Next question. So you mentioned it a little bit ago about how when you start getting busy and then you start getting a lot of work, that that's how somehow you get to negotiate your rates, maybe increase them a little bit. Uh, but for me, a person who's starting, how do I negotiate my rates? How do I know if I am charging accordingly to the job that I'm doing?
Every time that you ask a question, I just want to say that's a good question. So let me just get it out of the way. All your questions have been like amazing so far. So
Thank you.
uh, I would say that a way that you would know what fair rates there are in your area, because that's another thing. So it depends a lot on where, if we're working remotely or if we're working in person. So if we're working remotely, rates are mostly standard. So you could just ask around and ask in different groups like Facebook or any type of organization that you belong to or any type of colleague group. Just ask them, hey, what are the going rates for the area? They'll be more than happy to share them with you, and they will give you a range because it depends on the language, it depends on the availability of work. So there's many variables, but on site as well. On site, there's I wouldn't say just I wouldn't get discouraged. Like if you hear, oh, they're paying this amount over here per hour, and that's not fair. Well, it could be the case, but maybe in the area that person is in, it's a different state or it's a different area altogether. So the rate might be different than the area where you are. So I would just suggest to contact those people that you met through
Mhm.
networking so that you can get an idea of a range for the rates. And I would start, I would say, at the lower range, to be honest, because at least you'll be working. So sometimes interpreters start as volunteers, even just because they want to get the experience and they want to be out there. So I wouldn't say to everybody just go ahead and volunteer, which I really, encourage anyone to, it's helping out the community. If you have the chance, please go ahead and do so. But it's a good place to start. It's a good place to being out there and exposing yourself to the work and the people, and you might get references that way. It's
Mhm.
networking. So don't see it as I'm working for free. It's just that you are advertising your services by actively practicing. And I would start again with the lower rates if I don't have anything, so that I can start getting busier. And as you start getting busier, you start getting more recommendations. You start seeing more agencies reaching out to you because that happens as well. If you're visible enough, if you participate in organizations and have your information in their directory, or if you're sharing your contact information, people will start reaching out to you. When that happens, then you can start playing a little bit with your rates. And that's what I did. Every time that someone contacted me, I would just put my rate a little higher than the previous person. And they would get me, they would hire me. So that way, I stopped doing the jobs that would pay me less and I started getting paid better for my time.
Okay, I understand then. So okay, once you get busy, once you get contacted a few times, you can. No, I mean I'm kidding. Moving on to the next question. So we talked a little bit about rates, and basically rate is well, the what you're gonna be paid for
Yeah.
per hour.
Yeah.
But what if I have to, like travel? Because of
Hmm.
course I'm not going to the same place every day.
Yeah.
So what happens? Are those expenses some kind like covered in some kind of way, or what things are they gonna contemplate so that I can invoice them for that, and then I get like a reimbursement, I'd say. For
Okay.
example, I don't know, my car, but like what happens with my car? Because like I'm using gas. I mean, I have to go take it. I don't know, for an oil change or whatever.
Hmm.
So, what kind of things that I need as a contractor to get to well, be able to cover for my work, or to put in my invoice?
Well, depends on where you're going and how you're doing the job. If you are going to be working remotely, obviously you're going to bill for your time. Usually, it's not industry standard to charge for, let's say, internet or the power or whatever. You just basically charge for your time, and you're going into a, I'm talking when you're doing consecutive. I'm not talking about events because that's a whole other animal. But when you're talking about consecutive and just short assignments, let's say we're talking about the typical assignment, like 1, 2 hours, what have you,
Mm-hmm.
then you would bill just for your time. Now, when you are like the podcast name is called is total travel time. So it depends on how far you go. So it's really highly debated if I should charge for travel time because some entities, some agencies, or some people are not willing to pay for it, but some of them are, and those are the clients that I like to keep because they are willing to play with the rates or the budget just to make sure that the job is completed. So it's not necessarily like everything is on the board on the table because remember we're contractors, so we get to name our pricing, but the client does not have to accept them. It's an option for us and for them as well. So what I usually and typically bill for is for my time, which is a 2 hour minimum. And that's industry standard. It's 2 hour minimum. Why? Because sometimes they might be late. Sometimes someone might extend the conversation, or just there's 2 hours that I reserved for your assignment. So I have this 2 hour block that I separated so that I can tend to your assignment, and I'm not going to book that time for anybody else. So that's why we get 2 hours. Now I have a 24-hour cancellation fee, which means that if you cancel below in less than 24 hours before the assignment, then I charge you for my 2 hours. Some people have 48 hours, some people have 72. So it all depends. You have the flexibility of doing whatever you want. But the industry standard, I believe, is about 24. You mentioned something about gas and pricing with the vehicle and
Mm-hmm.
the evaluation, all that stuff. So there's a federal rate that the government uses, and I like to use that one. It changes every year. They adjust it depending on gas prices and the economy. So usually counties and people paying for your travel, they will pay mileage, and they pay per mile. So depending on where you're heading, then you just bill for the mile and use that rate. I like to use that way, and I bill for a round trip. However, there are some clients that might say, "Oh, you know what? I'm gonna pay you a flat rate for the transportation for your travels. You can accept it. You cannot. You can just reject it. It depends on what you want, if it makes sense for you or not." So I know that a lot of questions are answered as depends, because that's the thing. We have a lot of flexibility, and every case is different. So we get to play with our rates. If it's a client that we really want, we can work with them. If it's a client that is like, yeah, I don't know, it's a bit complicated for me right now, then you can just reject it or just bill them for your time. It all depends on what you want to do, which is the amazing part of being a contractor.
There's different ways to do it.
Absolutely.
Nice. Okay. Any let me see. I have two questions. Well, I have three questions and I don't know how to put them out there. Okay. So, well, I guess the first one like that I'd like to ask from those three is um I know we talked about how it depends.
Yes.
But for example, how do you handle invoicing?
Hmm. What do you mean handle? What way? What do you think? What do you mean
So
by?
okay, so let's imagine
Mhm.
that for this week I have five different assignments,
Okay.
and they are with the same person. So the same person sent me all that work,
Okay.
and I am to just go this
With your
five times,
magic.
yeah, what have you. So how do I invoice them? Like, should I do it every day right after I finish my assignment? Should I do it like every week or every month? Like at the end of the month or at the end of the week? Do I just send them everything, or should I send them every day? Or I don't know.
This is what has worked for me. This is what has worked for me so far. I am a huge mess when it has to do with invoicing. Like I love my profession. I love what I do, but part of it is, obviously doing things that I'm not necessarily in love with, which is invoicing because I'm my own business. So the way that I do invoicing is some clients that send me a lot of work, they just say, okay, just send me your invoice every week. Some of them say, okay, just send them every month, which is something that you have to get used to. You're not going to get paid immediately. Not all clients pay immediately. You have to be ready for a wait of 30 days after invoicing, 45 days, sometimes 60. It depends on how long you're willing to wait.
That was one of my other
Oh,
questions.
but I'm so good that I'm actually just like moving ahead and I'm just like imagining. But yeah, that's something that you have to be ready for. So calculating how much you have to wait, then
Mm-hmm.
it would be a good idea to send them as soon as possible if you can't wait. Um, the way that and it's a tip that I got from someone that she's been in the industry for a really long time. I don't know if I can say her name, so I'm just gonna not say it, but she knows who she is. Uh,
She'll
what
know who
she
she
knows,
is.
yeah, she
Yeah.
knows who she is. She does it every day. It's like she says, no, no, it's at the end of the day, every day I invoice. So that way, it's part of her job. She says, until I invoice, I'm not done with my day. So every time when she comes home, she does her invoice, she sends it out, and then she gets it out of the way. I've done it the other way when I just stockpile them and I've gotten called out because sometimes it's months until I remember to send it out. And that's not good. That's not good for accounting. That's not good for tax purposes for the client. So it's better just to do it as soon as possible. So I would have a format ready unless the client requires something specific. And then at the end of the assignment, if it's something that I can do online, I do it online. If it's something that I have to sit down and prepare my Excel sheet, I would do it at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Best case scenario, which is not always the same, but trying to do it as soon as possible is always the best answer.
Nice. I do like the advice you got about doing it every day
Oh
and
yeah,
that
it works.
just like I don't know, like setting your mind that the assignment's not over until you do your invoice and you
Yep,
send it out.
absolutely.
That was a really good one.
No, yeah, it has helped. It's like a different mindset, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
you don't get to forget the assignment. Sometimes it's a really hard assignment. Sometimes it takes a toll on you. But if you have that mindset, as in like my job is not done until I send this, then it gets done, and it gets done on time, and you get paid on quicker.
Awesome. So I think you and I are similar in that particular um, thing because to me
I think
it's no. I
I
mean
think it's like
I
Laura. I think
couldn't.
it's like 90% of us, or 95% of us are the same way. Every time I ask an interpreter, they tell me
Oh
the
my
same thing.
god.
And invoicing is such a big headache for us because it's not just a standard invoice. And clients, some of them they want you to go online and just do it on their website. Some of them want you to do it on an Excel sheet, your own invoice. Some of them have their own format that you have to
like their own
form.
template, and
their
then you
own-
have to
oh,
adjust
gosh.
it. Oh my goodness,
It's a headache, but it's part of the job. It's part of being a contractor.
And well, I'm out of questions because you answered all of them. So I mean, as one last thing, would you tell us why you like being a contractor?
Flexibility. 100% is the flexibility. It's just making sure that I am open and available when I need to be. So it's an amazing feeling. It's not having to have a schedule. I hate having a schedule. I hate having an 8 to 5 or 9 to 6 or what have you. I love the fact that I can plan my own schedule every week. Is it the best thing ever? Well, not necessarily when you don't have enough work. But if you have enough work and you have the possibility of, switching things around and then taking a break when you need to, which I never do, to be honest. I should take more breaks. But the fact of the matter is that you get to decide when you do what. So I think that alone is so powerful that I would be a contractor 10 times over.
Good. Valid answer.
Thank you. I hope I won the prize.
We'll see about that. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Good. And if I were to say something, because I'm not as experienced as you are, or as all in the field as you are, but something I would just like to say to this person who's listening to us and they're not sure whether to start on their own, like independently, trying to look for more work, I would just say go for it. It's not easy at the beginning. I'm still in that it's not easy stage, but it starts getting better, and you start seeing how it's amazing to feel how it starts working out for you, and how you get to meet so many people, and then they can start even acknowledging you for how you do a great job, and that makes you feel good inside, especially if you like the profession as much as I do. And I know you can do it.
That's awesome advice, and especially you say that I'm experienced and I've been doing this for a while. Yes, that's correct, but I feel like the advice coming from you would be way more valuable right now because you are in the midst of it, and you are at a stage where many of us are deciding whether to continue to be an interpreter or change careers, because at the beginning it's not easy, but once we get our footing in, I know that it's well worth it. Definitely. Yeah. Well, I think that's all we have for this episode. If you have any questions or any suggestions, just reach out. We'll deal with any questions or subjects in the following episode, or we'll discuss it and probably decide to make a whole episode depending on what feedback we receive. But
Excelente. Muchísimas gracias. Si
yeah,
están
because we're
aquí
supposed to
todavía,
be bilingual, but nos fuimos en inglés.
sí, como todo el episodio.
Yes.
Pero ya para terminar, entonces yo diré adiós en español. Bien, muchísimas gracias por estar con nosotros durante este episodio. Si están aquí todavía, le vamos a dejar una cajita aquí abajo para que cualquier comentario o cualquier sugerencia de algún tema que le gustaría que nosotros conversemos acerca, o bueno, si les gustó el episodio también lo pueden poner. Es un espacio libre.
Exactamente. Well, thank you everybody. See you next
Muchísimas
time.
gracias. Adiós.
Bye bye.